I swear, I only looked away for a heartbeat, and poof, 25 years of deep-rooted memories, cooling shade, and that sweet morning chorus of birds vanished into dust. Also, the Homeowners Association could slap up 120 cookie-cutter condos with cheap vinyl siding and zero personality. I'm not one to preach about fate or cosmic payback, but what unfolded next? It sure as hell felt like the universe was tallying up the score, ready to swing hard. This tale gets messy, a bit gritty, and yeah, downright controversial, especially when you think about who really deserves blame in these neighborhood wars. If you've ever seen a simple yard makeover spiral into absolute mayhem, stick around. Your own HOA nightmares might make mine look tame. For a quarter-century, I'd poured every ounce of myself into turning this scrappy patch of dirt in the sleepy Midwest town of Oak Ridge into my personal oasis. Picture this. I'd wake to sunlight filtering through leaves I'd nurtured from tiny sprouts, the air alive with chirps and flutters. Evenings, I'd stroll those paths, hose in hand, as the sun dipped low, painting everything in that warm, golden glow that made life feel right. This wasn't just landscaping to might was my heartbeat, my quiet rebellion against the rush of the world. I'd started every plant from seed, towering maples, lush shrubs, vibrant blooms that exploded in color each spring. Those trees, they were like old friends, weathering blizzards and droughts side by side with me. Then Rebecca Langford stormed in like a force of nature, her self-tailored suit, sleek auburn hair, and a grin so polished it screamed insincerity. I still replay that town hall gathering in early 2024 where she unveiled her vision. She strutted to the podium, cleared her throat with theatrical flair, and declared in that haughty tone, "Folks, I'm excited to announce 120 state-of-the-art condos that will elevate this tired corner of Oak Ridge into a premier destination the whole region will covet." My gut twisted instantly. I shot my hand up, voice steady despite the adrenaline surge. "Pardon, Rebecca, but what about the mature trees? Some have stood here for decades." The room hushed. Eyes darted my way. Her smile stretched wider, almost predatory, as she tossed her hair dismissively. "Trim or remove?" I pressed. She eyed me like I was yesterday's news. "We'll install compact, low-maintenance varieties far more appealing and efficient. Those relics are obsolete." The way she spat "obsolete" while staring me down, it ignited a spark. I knew right then we'd clash, but I underestimated her ruthlessness. Hindsight's cruel. I should have seen that anyone who could trash 25 years of tender growth as obsolete wouldn't blink at bulldozing ethics. That night, I paced my yard, gazing at those branches under the stars, bargaining with myself. Maybe it'd just be a prune. Maybe I was overblowing it. Wish I could slap some sense into that naive version of me. Dawn broke to a nightmare symphony, chainsaws snarling like rabid beasts. I bolted out in pajamas, feet slick on damp grass, heart pounding. What greeted me? My faithful trunks toppling like dominoes, each crash echoing like a gut punch. The earth seemed to groan in protest. There stood Rebecca amid the carnage, arms folded, in oversized shades that screamed luxury, directing the crew like a diva on set. Spotting me charging over, she waved cheerfully, as if we were swapping brunch invites. "You're slaughtering them," I bellowed over the roar, voice raw with fury. "These have roots deeper than your plans." She shrugged, not even lowering those shades. "Enhancing values, James. You ought to thank Mathies we're hogging prime real estate." I froze as the final maple thudded down, feeling like I'd lost kin. In the distance, Eleanor Whitaker, the wise old widow next door, shook her head with a knowing sorrow that hinted at buried history. When the saws silenced, an eerie weight blanketed the lot. Workers hauled off debris, leaving scarred stumps and a void that clawed at my chest. But something stirred in that stillness, like the ground itself whispered warnings, grieving its loss. Was it my mind fracturing from shock, or a real omen of brewing chaos? Instead of wallowing, that fire Rebecca lit pushed me to act. I'm no brawler, but her smugness? Unbearable. I devoured the HOA bylaws, 180 pages of tedious drivel on fence heights and mailbox styles. Buried in the jargon, loopholes on community enhancements, so vague they handed tyrants like her carte blanche. It reeked of power grabs disguised as policy. But suspicions weren't enough. I needed dirt. So I knocked on Eleanor's door. She'd rooted in Oak Ridge longer than anyone, and her gaze during the Chop Fest screamed untold tales. She welcomed me to her porch with tea from an heirloom pot, hands trembling but eyes piercing. "About Rebecca Langford?" she asked, smirking bitterly. "Buckle up, son, this ain't quick." Sipping slowly, she recounted her own clash. Rebecca forced her to repaint her 35-year home from soft gray to stark beige for cohesion. Eleanor fought back, lawyered up, and one judge ruled it overreach. But victory soured. Rebecca nursed grudges like fine wine. Eleanor fetched a weathered box, 5 years of receipts, emails, doctored safety logs, shady contractor deals. "She's no leader," Eleanor warned. "Just a bully with a badge, circling sycophants who fear her or profit from her." One email chilled me. Rebecca plotting cost cuts on past builds, risking lives for margins. This was systemic rot, not slip-ups. Fury boiled as I pored over proof-me trees were mere symptoms of her greed-fueled empire. Armed, I drafted a sharp letter to the board. Facts, regs, evidence. No rant, just airtight queries on permits and violations. Secretary Sarah Jenkins replied with robotic boilerplate. "Project complies fully. Concerns addressed." My follow-up? Identical drivel. They viewed me as a pest. Then, Fader Fury intervened. A lazy afternoon turned apocalyptic. Skies blackened unnaturally fast, unleashing a deluge like divine wrath. Without my roots anchoring the clay-heavy soil, water raged unchecked into the dig sites. I watched, mesmerized, as pits morphed into ponds, machinery tilting perilously. Crews scrambled, a crane teetered. I filmed it all, sensing ammunition. Rebecca arrived soaked, makeup streaked, bellowing into her phone, her poise shattered. Sarah lingered oddly calm, glancing my way with unreadable intent. The mess? $60,000 hit, weeks delayed. Seeing her flail sparked grim satisfaction, but I sensed escalation brewing. Needing expertise, I approached Marcus Everett, the retired geologist neighbor who'd eyed the site warily. Over coffee, he dissected Old Town soil charts from the 70s. Clay base expands wet, shrinks dry. Roots stabilized it. Now? Catastrophe waiting. Photos showed pooling, cracks, subsidence. Another storm, and those condos sink like stones. Lives at stake. His grave tone flipped my fight from personal to moral. Would he testify? After wrestling ethics, he nodded. Can't ignore this. But she fights dirty. We geared for war, knowing Rebecca's claws were sharpening. She called a spin session, downplaying the flood as freak weather, touting robust fixes. Investors fidgeted. A buyer pressed. My $25,000 deposit safe? She patronized. Absolutely, with cutting-edge tech. But Marcus and I rose. Soil's unstable post-root removal. I challenged, unveiling emails proving she ignored hazards for profit. You knew. Reading her words, skip $1.5 million reinforcements. Buyers won't grasp tech jargon. Ignited pandemonium. Demands flew. Trust vaporized. Rebecca's veneer cracked, eyes flashing venom my way. Retaliation hit swift. Cease and desist accusing slander. Cops at my door probing threats. Isolation gripped. Neighbors shunned the drama. Doubt crept. Am I the villain? But Eleanor delivered vintage drainage blueprints. Engineers relied on trees for flow. Sans them. Floods inevitable. Then Sarah called, voice quaking. Meet Meccan, stay silent. At a dingy diner, she confessed. Those replies? Her script. But this. She played a covert tape. Rebecca slashing safety for bucks, labeling me a pest to eliminate. Shocked, Sarah explained. My daughter's 7. What if she lived there? Rebecca's toxic belitles, blames. Her defection? Game changer, but risky. The showdown loomed at the county auditorium, storm clouds mirroring the tension. Rebecca entered armored in suits and attorneys, vowing lawsuits against saboteurs. But Sarah stood. I recorded her. Playback exposed raw greed, cost cuts, dismissals, threats. Outrage erupted, calls for probes, refunds. Then thunder roared, rain hammered. Through windows, the site dissolved. Pits caved. A demo unit listed then sank in mud. Marcus narrated. Clay's revenge betray it. Paid dearly. Chaos peaked. Cops cuffed Rebecca for fraud, endangerment. Project axed. Land became James Harlow Preserve. Sprouts reclaiming scars naturally. Sarah championed eco-causes. Eleanor got civic honors. Marcus advised sustainable builds. Rains now soothe, roots drinking deep. Nature doesn't vengeance eat and forces balance. Ignore it for greed? It humbles brutally. Regrets? Hell, no, fighting's raw, but silence kills slower. Was Rebecca a visionary crushed by meddlers, or a predator exposed? Should HOAs wield such power, or are they breeding grounds for tyrants? Would you risk it all for trees, or let progress roll? Drop your takes below. Does nature really keep score, or is that wishful thinking? Hit like if this fired you up, subscribe for more raw showdowns, and comment your battles. Who's the real villain in these stories? You decide.